This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Jo Reed, and with me, contributor Laura Rossi with her Earphones Roundup. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Jo. How are you?
I'm fine. So I had a gander at the books that you're talking about today, and you are all over the place. So why don't you let us know what we're going to be talking about?
Yes, Jo. So to remind listeners, our format is I talk about 3 Earphones Award-winning audiobooks, and one is a title I listened to already, one is a title I'm listening to now, and then the third is the title I'm listening to next. So I'm so thrilled to be talking about The Slip by Lucas Schaefer, read by Shaun Taylor-Corbett and Renata Friedman. Do you know this book, Jo?
I really don't.
Well, there was a lot of hype around this book. It's a debut novel by a writer based in Austin, Texas, Lucas Schaefer. And I had my eyes on this title when some of the previews were coming up for, titles to take note of for 2025. And I happened to be at the live Kirkus Prizes in New York City when this title won the Kirkus Prize for Fiction for 2025. So my confession is that I read it in print and I also listened to the audiobook. The performances are stunning. The plot is very ambitious, and it is a novel in its debut that makes you feel like you're dealing with something new, which is a rare thing in publishing.
I agree. So why don't you give us a really short thumbnail sketch?
Right. As I mentioned, this is a complex tale with a lot of layers, but actually pulled from the Kirkus review. And this mirrors some of the notes in our audiophile review. It's about a missing teenager who's at the center of this very dense but fast paced in some ways plot that is set and sort of weaves around a boxing gym in Austin, Texas. It's set in 1998 and goes up through 2014. And it is sort of about unraveling a mystery, but it also touches on gender, identity, and so much more, and really family. It's a book that people will really enjoy listening to because our two narrators bring such distinction and flow to their parts that you move from lots of different places, a phone sex hotline to workouts in a boxing gym, a nursing home. I mean, it's really unexpected, but it's riveting. And Shaun Taylor-Corbett is incredible, as is Renata Friedman.
I don't know Renata Friedman very well, but I am a great fan of Shaun Taylor-Corbett. I was lucky enough to interview along with Cynthia Leitich-Smith,
Mm,
and he has done so much. I mean, the big book he did this year's Big Chief by John Hickey, but just so much. Indian Shoes, On a Wing and a Tear, Stars by Tommy Orange. I mean, he's an amazing narrator,
he
and I'm
really
always happy
is.
to hear him.
The list goes on, and he really anchors so much of this book. And in fact, Shaun's name was the reason I knew after reading the print that I would sort of jump straight into the audiobook.
Now, how is the narration divided up between Renata and Shaun?
So the book moves through different sections and chapters, and it's pretty flawless. The beginning is very Shaun heavy, and then there is kind of infusions of Renata playing other parts as well.
Okay, well, why don't we hear a bit? Set it up.
So this is the beginning of the book. Shaun Taylor-Corbett brings us into the story of our missing teenager.
All right. This is The Slip by Lucas Schaefer, read by Shaun Taylor-Corbett and Renata Friedman.
10 years later, still no sign of missing teen. By Dan Kennedy, Austin American Statesman. August 8th, 2008. This week marks 10 years since the disappearance of a Massachusetts teenager visiting Austin. Nathaniel Rothstein, then 16, was living with his uncle and aunt for the summer when he vanished from their North Campus home in August 1998. Family remember Rothstein's love of fantasy novels and his commitment to the theater. In Austin, he volunteered at a local assisted living facility and had begun to develop an interest in boxing. Rothstein's uncle, Robert Bob Alexander, says the family continues to search for him. What would I want to tell my nephew if he sees this? I tell him what anyone in this situation would tell their missing kid. Come home.
That's a tough moment. I can't imagine anything worse.
Hmm.
I really can't. And Shaun is such a versatile narrator who really is excellent at conveying deep emotion with great restraint.
I agree, Joe. And this just it puts you right into the story from Sean's first word 10 years later.
Okay, so that's the book you've already listened to, The Slip. What are you listening to now?
Okay, Joe. So I am listening to We the People, A History of the U.S. Constitution by Jill Lepore, read by Jill Lepore. And I'm sure this is a surprise pick because it's not something you would typically follow. My first pick, fiction debut, Kirkus Prize winning, but it's a really obvious pick for me because right now we're in a time in history that continues to inspire me to learn more about how our country was built, democracy, and really the foundational documents like the Constitution and what they really mean. So I was a little reluctant. I mean, this is 24 hours, it's nonfiction, but I love Jill's writing and I think she's got a great voice. She does a nice job narrating, and this is dense. This is not, page turning entertainment, but it feels like as a citizen, it's my duty a little bit. So that's why I picked it.
Well, she's an historian, and she's also a staff writer at The New Yorker, and I have to say, I am always happy when she has an article in The New Yorker.
Me too.
Wonderful, wonderful writer. And she also narrated her other book, The Deadline, which got an Earphones Award.
She did. She really presents as an expert. Her tone is accessible. She's also professor of American history at Harvard University, so she, knows how to do public speaking. And listen, the US Constitution is among the oldest constitutions in the world, and now is the time. I don't want to get, this is not political. This is really just me saying I want to lean into learning more about the US and the US history. And like you, I devour her articles when they appear in the New Yorker. And she's somebody that you'll sort of hear here and there doing interviews.
Oh, no, I hear her on the radio, New Yorker Radio Hour, yeah, podcasts. Well, and she's arguing in this book that we now have a constitution that seems to be cast in amber, but in point of fact, the right to amend it is intrinsic to the Constitution.
Yes, it's one of the formative pieces of the Constitution. And she really does a nice job of explaining in a way that still feels smart. She's not dumbing down anything. And there is a conversational element to it. And in the sound sample, you'll hear exactly what I mean.
So, should we hear a little now?
This sound clip is a couple sentences where she talks about exactly what we were just talking about, amending the Constitution.
All right, this is We the People. It is written and read by Jill Lepore.
Amending the Constitution turned out to be infinitely more difficult than they intended. Almost all efforts to amend the Constitution fail. Success often takes decades, and for long stretches of American history, amending the Constitution has been effectively impossible.
As a reader and as a writer, she's engaged, she's lively, and she's lucid.
Yes, Joe.
And she's thought-provoking.
This reminds me of some of the best college lectures I've heard or subsequently gone and Googled and tried to listen to. And the best thing, in my opinion, is because it's an audiobook, you can hit pause and rewind if you want to sort of go back and just say, wait a minute, I didn't quite get that. What did she mean? Let me just sit with that for a minute and then continue on. And yeah, it's just kind of a portable lesson in your ears that I would recommend for anyone.
And your final book, the one you are going to listen to next.
So the title I picked is probably prompted by it's the change of seasons, it's the end of the year. I get very contemplative and I like to meditate and think about old year, new year, etc. This title is Living is Dying, How to Prepare for Death, Dying and Beyond by Dzongsar Jamyang Khyentse. And it is read by Michael Imperioli. Have you heard of this title, Joe?
I actually have not heard of the title, but I know Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos, from White Lotus, and he also wrote and narrated a book, The Perfume Burned His Eyes.
Yes, he's just a delight and a surprise as, someone who really can handle audiobook narration and reading. And I picked this title for two reasons, but the biggest one I think was I love hearing a book that Michael narrates and reads. And I really, secret little confession, but I am very interested in
Yeah,
Buddhism.
I am
I
too.
keep hearing people talking about it, Joe, and dear friends of mine are adapting pieces of the practice. And so as I enter my reflections on 2025 and think about 2026, I saw the AudioFile magazine review, and I picked the title. And this is why. I'll read the line from our review. The narrator's exceptional performance makes this audiobook an indispensable guide to living with more understanding, kindness, and equanimity.
Oh, who doesn't want that?
Right?
Yeah, no. And I'm also drawn to Buddhism or interested in it, to be more honest. And maybe this would be an entree. Who knows? Should we hear a little?
Let's hear a little. And Buddhism, there is complexity. I picked a selection that really just exemplifies how in Buddhism there is shifting perspectives. And this really centers around Michael talking about the author's section about dreaming.
Okay, this is Living and Dying by Dzongsar Jamyang Khyentse, and it's read by Michael Imperioli.
Right now, your Buddha nature is wrapped in the cocoon of your physical body, the labels and names you assign to all phenomena, the distinctions you make, and your habits, culture, values, and emotions. The purpose and aim of the Buddha's Dharma is to liberate and free us from this cocoon. But in order to fully understand this liberation, we first need to know about the ground of liberation. What is the ground of liberation? It is a bit like this. Imagine you are sitting on a sofa in a very small living room. Suddenly, all you want to do is dance, so you move the sofa into the dining room. You can move the sofa because, no matter how heavy and bulky it is, the sofa is movable, and the space you move it into is inherently available. To put it another way, the ground of liberation, also known as the ground of awakening, is something like a state of awakened dreaming. When we have a nightmare, however terrifying the experience, it dissolves without trace the moment we wake up. Basically, nothing happens. And the fact that nothing happens is the ground of liberation, Buddha nature. So if there are no spiders in your bed before you get into it, as you go to sleep, while you sleep and when you wake up, however large and hairy the spiders in your nightmare, there is and never was a spider in your bed. In other words, you are not your dream.
It's very intriguing. I mean, I found myself engaged even in this short clip.
Right.
And he reads it so well. It's like he's sitting down and just explaining something to you.
That's a lovely way to explain it. And again, I listened to the sound clip, I read the review, and I guess the parting thought for me is this idea that it's about living. So even though the title has death and dying, it really is a meditation on how to live and how we want to live. And so I am really looking forward to using this as a way to say goodbye to 2025 and welcome the new year.
That's a good way to do it. I might join you because this really did intrigue me. Well, Laura, a pleasure as always. 3 great titles and quite disparate ones as well.
Yes, Joe, I left you with a menu of options. And speaking of menus, when our listeners are listening, we'll be a few days away from Thanksgiving, and the holiday season will be in full swing. So I think popping any one of these 3 titles into your listening list will, I think, add some depth to the season as you're sort of moving about, driving, traveling, wrapping gifts, cooking, whatever your traditions are.
I agree, and I hope you have a happy and wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope our listeners do too. And I'll talk to you next month.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Behind the Mic is brought to you by Thomas Nelson Fiction, publisher of Prowl, narrated by Karen Peaks. This is the second book in the USA Today best-selling author Colleen Cobble's Sanctuary series. Prowl is the ideal blend of suspense that keeps you on the edge of your seat with just the right amount of romance. Available on all audiobook platforms. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart, Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dowell and Coco McCracken are our editors. And the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.